Yo guys, what's up? It's day 9 here with a fancy new background. Of course, we'll go back to the usual one, Bernard's fancy background. But today, it's all festive party time because this is day 9 daily number 257 where we learn to be a better gamer. It's Newbie Tuesday, all about learning how you can go from zero to hero. Because there's always all the advice that the diamond level players give to one another, but no one's extending the helping hand. Here it is. The helping hand to the people who've just finished single player. Go to the daunting task of playing on the online Battle.net ladder against other people who go, LOL, you nub. You nub. And that's a very stressful experience. So today, we're doing the most wonderful Wubulous activity. We are focusing on that which is not focused on too much. Mechanics. Where your screen is, what hotkeys you're using, where you should be looking, upon what you should be clicking. There we go. And all that good jazz. Going to be watching some games from first-person perspective. I have my Obsing pillow here. I'm excited about it. And I still have this plaguing feeling as though there's something else to announce. But I don't think... Oh my god, I figured it out! Yes! Yes! Oh my god, by the way, all the live viewers, beforehand, I actually started late because I was like, what was it? I don't remember it. For any of you who have not been on TeamLiquid.net recently, there's an amazing new Terran vs. Terran style proposed by a player named Echoic. He did a wonderful job outlining his strategy, the ins and outs and roundabouts of it, and he'll be coming on tomorrow for Friend Day Wednesday. And we're going to do a little analysis of it and get an introduction to who Echoic is. So that's going to be exciting. Let's not delay any further. Let's go ahead and jump right into some games so we can focus on some mechanics. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and, it just dawns on me now that I have no idea who some of these players are. Some of them may be the Newbie Tuesday submitters. Some of them may not be. But again, this is what happens when sometimes things are a little bit unlabeled. But either way, let's go ahead and watch this game. We have a Protoss player, Tai Shu, on the left. And we have Anachronism in the bottom positions. I just want to briefly note that their APMs looks like a little bit low on the Protoss front. Let's go ahead and watch from these Zerg players' perspective, coming right out the gate. So, I'm actually going to be watching portions of this at the normal speed. Right now we're at the normal game speed. But we want to be able to watch it a little faster coming up. You're noticing that the screen is not really moving around at all. We are in the Anachronism cam, at least according to this little label. There's been virtually no different selecting going on, and that's actually fine. We see some right here. We see him continue to build the Overlord, and we see that the spamming... Oh, looks like he's doing a little bit of moving around action. And the big focus of this daily is to talk about where the screen is and how we're ending up moving it. I want to double check to see if this gameplay thing is in here, because there's a smart camera pan. We're going to see how this ends up modifying this as we rewind just a moment, because the important thing that I noted a lot in the last daily is that this sort of thing where you scroll the camera around, like if we wanted to click, like this sort of gentle scrolling is something to be avoided. That's something that we want to have avoided. So we want to make sure that that smart camera pan is disabled. You do not want to be doing a lot of scrolling of the screen like this. One of the big concepts I mentioned is that, for instance, if we have this Overlord and we want him to go here, we should not grab him and then scroll our screen and click. We should grab him and then click on the minimap and then click send. So there's going to be some periods in time in this game that are a little bit deceptive. Like, so for instance, right there, that little brief move was actually not screen scrolling. That's Blizzard's auto smoothing to make first-person viewing a little bit less hectic to watch. So overall, I do like the fact that we saw Anachronism click up here when he wanted to send something to move. Alright, now we're back to his first-person perspective. Notice that he's spending a lot of his time watching the hatchery. This actually bugs me a little bit. We could easily be spending our time looking at this Overlord while just using our 5 hotkey to have our hatch selected. And in fact, this Overlord should be Control Group 1. Because if this Overlord was 1, I could immediately hit 1-1 and be looking around as my Overlord is slowly drifting, and then I could tap 5 and build things. Instead, we have Anachronism staring right here. So already we see some issues coming up for our Zerg player Anachronism. We see some issues coming up where he really is not doing enough poking around. See, now it looks like he's doing a good job doing the screen zoom. All right, good, good. And again, I want to say this for the millionth time. You're seeing little movements that look like this. That's because in reality, this is happening. In reality, it's click to move screen, click back to move screen. But again, the first-person replay viewer has this sort of skipping that it does. So, we're going to continue to look at this. Okay, now, I want to note the following, that Zerg has not yet looked into the Protoss main for a good glimpse. He hasn't gotten a count on the probes. It's a very easy thing to go over here and just sort of go, okay, how many probes are there? You can actually individually count them. It's not that hard at this stage in the game because there's not that many. Hell, there's 14 of them. Pretty easy to do. But we want to make sure that we can get that sort of good probe count going down. I actually want to see what our Protoss player is doing in terms of his hotkeying. Alright, cool. I might end up switching to the Protoss player because I'm seeing more of his things hotkeyed. And I want to focus a little bit on that. Also, I want to focus on this key thing, the scouting probe. Now, in Day 9 daily number 252, the daily that focused all on mechanics and everything that there was to do with mechanics, we talked a lot about having good hotkeys. Here's probe number 1, who is, the builder probe. Probe number 2 is the scouter probe. Nexus on 4, that's great. Let's go ahead and look to see how our Protoss buddy ends up managing this scouting probe right here that my mouse cursor is moving on. All right, let's hit play. Great, he's back at his Nexus. He's missed a chrono boost. That's something I want to note. Just look down here. The chrono boost is missed. But let's glance here briefly and just follow along with the probe as it's scouting around. We still haven't done, we still haven't missed a probe. That's good. Now, one thing that I want to note about where your eyes should be looking, your eyes should almost always be looking somewhere different than the main screen. Always somewhere different. So, for instance, right now, the eyes should be looking at that probe right there. That's where the eyes should be. A lot of problems come up with scouting probes. For instance, notice right now that the scouting probe has just been chilling for a while. Okay. Now, I'm going to come back here and see if anyone notices the same thing that we saw, right? This is all about mechanics in the early game, which I think are just a shining example of some problems that happen. Scouting probe plus just executing your basic build. Everyone knows that those two things are important. Watch what happens to Protoss here. Let's just watch. All right, we're in first-person perspective of Taishu. We're in first-person perspective. Now, just watch where the screen is. Okay? Now, where's the screen? It's focusing on the Nexus. I want everyone to be looking at the mini-map, to be just a little bit aware. Here, we're looking at the main screen. Continue to look down here at the mini-map. Continue to look up here at the main screen. Now, look back down here on the mini-map. Look back here on the main screen. Now, right here, a problem happened. Right there, a problem occurred. This is a surprisingly common problem that you'll almost never be aware of unless you see a lot of people play Starcraft 2. In fact, it was even surprising to me a couple weekends ago when there was a LAN party at the house, and a couple of my roommates, who are just sort of casual RTS players, ended up doing the same thing consistently across all of them. What is it that I am referring to? It is the fact that the scouting probe is not scouting. It's a scouting probe because you use it to get useful information that helps you make decisions. But notice what happens with the scouting probe. This is a classic mistake that happens with fundamental mechanics. Watch this. It's a 20-second period that highlights a key problem. Look at this. We're sending the probe around. What have we seen so far? We see one drone. Look at the minimap. See, here's the one drone, but let's go back to Taishu's first-person perspective. We're hitting play. Oh my god, look at the scouting probe. Look at its scouting probe, moving right past. Is it getting a count of drones? What happens if the probe right now saw 6 drones? Incidentally, there's a lot of drones here. Incidentally, there's a ton. But what if it saw 6 drones? What if it saw 9 drones? Instead, what Taishu just did was do the roundabout loop. All right, so let's go back. And he's looking at the nexus. He's looking at the place that he could use to be building, or he could be using with this hotkey. So, and here, look, we're back at the scouting probe. What information do we have? Literally nothing. Our scouting probe has not scouted. So key, and there's the pool going down. Okay, now we're coming back. Now look at the scouting probe. It's going, it sees that there's an expansion there. Is it going to do anything? Has our player even really noticed it yet? And it looks like Taishu is trying to get ready to build this sort of cybernetics core. He's trying to get ready to build a cybernetics core. Alright, but notice that this probe down here kinda is just doing its own thing. It's just getting wailed away on. This probe has actually done very little scouting. Hasn't checked the gases, hasn't checked when the pool went down, hasn't gotten a good drone count. So let's talk about how this could have been fixed with good mechanics. I know I'm going through this exact same portion over and over and over again, but watch how much better this is going to feel. As we're rewinding back, okay, we see our probe. He's coming back. There's that position where he was resting as we're hitting our B button in the replay to get him to rewind. This is the way that a lot of veteran, seasoned players will end up doing it. Let's slow it down to normal. Okay, so we'd be looking here at this probe, and then we'd tap 4 to build from our nexus. And then we would go 4-4, chrono boost 2-2. Okay, and then we would tap 4, and then we'd select our guy again. We would tap 4. Notice just by tapping, I haven't moved the screen. I'm just checking this. We would also probably have this guy hotkeyed as 5. I just tried to do it myself, but apparently I can't do that. Darn, can't give him hotkeys in the middle of the game. But again, a good player would be doing the 2, and he would tap 4, and he'd go 2 and tap 4, and then, because he tapped 4, he would see that a probe finished, and he would go 4-4, build, 2-2. Again, the main screen, and where the eyes are looking, again, the eyes are going to be looking down here. The main screen is on this probe, but the eyes are looking here a lot. Alright, cool. So let's go ahead and speed things along a little bit more. Alright, so here he's scouting around right now. He's trying to do as best a job he can at executing his own build. Trying to do as good a job of that as he can, and there's the cybernetics core going down. That's fine. I also want you to be noticing a lot of what's being selected here. I really wish it would super first person it so we could even see what they were selecting, but of course we have to deal with this little silhouette. So we see this probe kind of coming back, and then see, again, this is a classic thing that a lot of players do. Alright, look at this. Look at this huge shift queue. No doubt Taishu selected and just did shift, move around. But as we go to his first person perspective, we're going to see absolutely no looking at that probe. Look, there's a glance. Yeah, I guess he's still following that shift queue. But I guarantee you already the big problem is that the eyes are looking at the same part that the screen is on. The eyes are looking here. And we're also not seeing as much tapping go on. This sort of exercise from our little Protoss buddy. I want to be doing a little bit more of that. So you're noticing that almost everything right now has just been first-person perspective. Where are we looking? Oh, wait a minute. Did everyone see what happened there? Classic little commonality that you'll see. That scouting probe, remember how I spent so long at the start of this daily just talking about the scouting probe and how we could look at it and how we could not look at it? I spent a lot of time doing that. Spent a whole lot of time on that. Because it's an instance of a common problem, which is that people do the look of the action, but don't really think about the purpose of the action. They will see the pros scout early on, but they never say, why am I scouting? What am I scouting for? Occasionally a revelation will occur, you know, like I'm incidentally scouting. Holy shit, 6 pool! Ah! And they freak out. Incidentally, I found it. But sometimes people will kind of get there and they won't know if they're looking for a fast hatch. They won't know if they're looking for a fast pool. They won't know if they're looking for a fast gas. They're just kind of showing up, going to work, 9 to 5 job, probe, good. This watchtower is another instance of it. I think everyone's aware that, yeah, a lot of people control the watchtowers, and they'll say things like, yeah, it's because you can spot an early attack. But what happens to Protoss here? What happens to Protoss? Let's go back to our little screen. Let's go back to our screen. Alright. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh. Oh, there's Zerglings here. But again, in the first-person perspective, he's back at the Nexus. And, oh, yes, now he's actually doing the selecting. Thank God this replay ended up catching up. But that probe ended up just sort of dying. That probe ended up just sort of halting, doing anything useful. So in essence, keeping this probe here actually backfired. It actually ended up backfiring. And that is something that we're a little frowny about. So let's continue to look down here. Let's see what our Protoss player ends up selecting. Alright, good. There we go. Now we're getting his camera. This is a little bit of scrolling going on. You heard me really berate people for scrolling. Again, for any of you who have not seen Day 9 Daily number 252, that is the most important daily for everyone of all time. Go watch it right now. One of the big concepts I said was do no scrolling. Do none of this. This is the second time this cast I've mentioned this. Do no scrolling. Click places. Click here. Click if you want to send something to his base. If you want all these guys to attack his front, select them and then click here. And then right-click right there. That's what we want to do. Alright, let's get his first-person view up and selected. Alright, let me try to do this very important technique that's actually incredibly difficult to do, which is where you actually get the chance to have his things selected. Come on, give me the first-person perspective. There we go. I think it's finally there. Nope. For any of you who actually know how to actually get this bottom part to correspond with the first-person cam, let me know. I would love to have that little bit of knowledge. So, we're seeing some stuff move out. While I was trying to figure out that little glitch in the replay first-person viewer where I can actually see what he is selecting. I'm going to see if... I'm actually going to experiment a little bit. I'm trying to figure out how to get the look of what he is selecting down here. And so the common technique I'm going to use is to crowdsource, if anyone knows. Escape. It's just escape. Wow. That's a useful thing to know. Learn a new thing every day. And you know what's kind of funny is that people, I guess because I do a 5-day-a-week web show about learning with Starcraft 2, people like this idea that I know like everything, and there's so much I have no idea about. Here's something I did not know. I learned this just this weekend. If you have 10 warp gates selected, and if I hold shift and hit S to build a stalker, I can just go click, 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 click to build the stalkers. You know what I used to do? I used to select my warp gates and go S click, S click, S click, S click, S click. I literally had no idea you could do that. That's so cool. Alright, great. Thank you, dear crowd. Thank you, live viewers. You are all awesome. Here's people. Just hit Alt F4. Just hit Control Alt Delete a bunch of times and that'll fix it. So let's do this. Oh, gosh, that's awesome. Fantastic. Alright, so I want to go back through those last few seconds. Fantastic. Frickin'-tastic. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so he has his Nexus selected. So, I like this. I like that we have an army moving out. We have an army moving out on the minimap. But we're kind of doing activity here. Our eyes should be here while we're doing some menial tasks here. That's what should be going on. Alright, cool. Looks like there was the little battle there. Let's go ahead and go back to his camera. Selecting things. And, you know, I'm seeing control group 3 for the units, 4 for the Nexus, and 5 for the warp gates. What I want to be seeing right now, is 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. That's what I want to be seeing. Back and forth. I want to be seeing, as I go into these past seconds, let's go back to the 7-minute and 10-second mark. This is what I want to see. Notice I'm not on first-person view. This is what I want to see. I want to see control group. Let's slow it down to normal. I want control group 3 selected, and then I want 4, 5, 4, 5. I want the main screen here. I want the fingers going 4, 5, 4, 5. So that way we know what our Nexus is doing. But I want 3 selected. So we go 4, 5, 4, 5. This is the look. Moving with the army, selecting the things that we're not looking at. If I was looking over here, I'd probably want to be selecting my army and looking at the mini-map. You want your eyes and hands to be addressing something that you're not looking at. Like your eyes should be looking here, your hands should be selecting things here, while the main screen's here. Good, let's go back to his first-person view. Here we go, Taishu. Oh, hit escape one too many times. Alright, good. He's making probes. He should be looking at the minimap right now. Good, good. Okay, notice how he's tapping. Notice all that tapping going on. Hit the robo. He tapped 5 a little while ago there. Oh, there's his main army. Tapped 5. Oh, did you see that? He tapped 5 to look. He tapped 4 to see his nexus. All while looking in the same location. Beautiful. Let's get another look at that. Let's get another look at that. One more look at that. Absolutely beautiful job. Oh, that's fantastic. Alright. C. Alright, let's hit the... Okay, now look at that. 3 is selected. Now look at that. The Nexus is selected. Okay, there's 5. Tapped 5. Did you see that? Tapped 5. Tapped 5. Tapped his warp gates, but did not go to them. He just tapped and looked at the bottom. Now look at this. Some more exquisite tapping action. Some more exquisite tapping action. Alright, so there's... And then here's the attack. Tapped 4, 5, and now he's going to the army. Beautiful. Beautiful. I would love to see 4, 5, 6 being tapped. 5, 5. Now they're done. So he's going to zoom back there. He's going to add them. Alright, he's going to add those zealots to the control group. But notice how he selected the Nexus while he was looking here.
Fall back to the shadow.
So he hits 1, 1. He has a little bit of a battle going on. In the middle of this battle, let's look right here. Is he going 4, 5, 6? Is he doing the tap? Is he doing the tap? Let's see that. Is he doing the tap? Is he doing the tap? Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. He's not doing 4, 5, 6. He's not doing 4, 5, 6. All his focus is up on the top screen. This moment that is going on right now, that was the most important moment to be tapping your macro. Right in the middle of that battle. Just doing this. Just doing this. Just doing this. Just 4, 5, 6. Looking at the battle and going 4, 5, 6. Because we would have known that we had a Nexus not building anything, that we had 3 Warp Gates not building anything, that we would have had a robotics facility not building anything. The tap is super essential for macro. Good macro comes not in hand speed, but in your ability to keep your eyes on that bottom thing while you're tapping 4, 5, 6. You don't need fast APM. You just need to keep going 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. I actually have my hands trained to just tap 1, 1 and then to go somewhere and then just go 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. This just happens. And I sort of go 1A, 1A, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 1A, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 1. Oh my god! Micro force fields. Yeah! 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. Retreat! 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. It's so easy. Because then, if your fingers are doing it automatically, suddenly you don't even really need to think that much. And oh my god, all my macros getting done for me. It's so straightforward. It's so simple. So simple. Alright, going to Taishu. Going to Taishu's first-person cam. Alright, perfect. Let's hit play again. Let's speed it up a little bit. Let's try to look at the bottom and see how much tapping we have. 4, 5, 6 should be happening right now. 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. In this whole game, I've done nothing but talk about tapping because it's worth one whole game talking about tapping. And now he's pulling back. Where's 4, 5, 6? 4, 5, 6. Oh no! He hit 4 and realized he wasn't building. For this part of the daily, I want you to look right here. I want you to look right here with me. Look right at this bottom. And you'll start noticing errors just by looking at that part of the screen. Alright, there's the Robo Bay being selected. We haven't hit 5 in a while, have we? Alright, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. Where's 4, 5, 6? Hey, there it is, 4, 5. Oh my god! Oh, we haven't done anything with 5. Quickly build things with 5. Alright, yeah, there we go, there we go. Notice that this probe is 7. Or excuse me, this observer is 7. That's good, that's really good. We love that, that's great. Is it a good hotkey? Is it a bad hotkey? I don't know. Any hotkey is better than not using hotkeys. Now, where's the 4, 5, 6? 4, 5, 6. Good, good. He comes back here. Might be doing a little bit of chrono boosting. Oh, it looks like we're hearing a little bit of action on the mini-map. And there's the 5. Oh, whoops. Didn't end up noticing it. But I'm actually very, very, very pleased with Taishu because this replay was labeled as very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. If we look at the opponent, we can see that this guy only has 2 hotkeys. But you know what, Taishu? is bossing it up by using 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just a second ago, 7. And here he is warping his units, and for the record, look at how low Taishu's money is. Look at how incredibly low that money is. That is fantastic. Look at that money in the top right. Isn't that beautiful? I love low money. That is so cool. Just to check, just to compare, the Zerg buddy is a little high on gas. Ugh, we don't want our gas to be that high. Oh, but look at Taishu. His gas is slightly high, but you know what? That's going to get burned fast with all those sentries. This is so great. This is so great. Now, as he's moving this army around, there should be the tapping of 4, 5, 6, tapping of 4, 5, 6. And look at this! Look at what Taishu did. This is exactly what all of you should do. Control Group 3, all the slow units. Control Group 2, the fast units. Control Group 1, an arbitrary probe in the middle of nowhere. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, splitting up this army into 2 and 3 is beautiful. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Now, there was a lot that I talked about hotkey setup in Day 9 Daily number 252. A lot that I talked about that. Look at your keyboard for a moment. I'm looking at mine. Just take a glance down at it. Notice how awkward feeling the motion 1A is. What 2 fingers would you use? If you wanted to go 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, imagine that you had to go 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, that you had 4 different control groups. 1A is the most awkward feeling of all of them. And it gets easier once you're getting to like 3A and 4A. So you know what? I really like that he started his army at 2. So that way he can go 2A, 3A. Notice how that's a little easier. This ring finger can push down on the 2, while the pinky pushes down on the A. And then this middle finger, the middle finger can push on 3, while the pinky pushes on the A. This is logical. Not only is it a logical hotkey setup, but he is splitting these things up. Now let's see how he ends up using them. This is fantastic. I love this so much. So notice that the stalkers are being pulled back a little bit. He can just hit 2 and pull them back. Beautiful, beautiful, amazing job. Now he's selected everything, and he's just going to be kind of moving in for an attack. Again, we're missing out on 4, 5, 6. Hey, there's the 5 that was warped in. Cool, we're grabbing that immortal, pulling our army back with 1 without looking at it. Wonderful, wonderful. Sending a probe out to build another pylon. Shift F2, sending them back. Perfect, perfect. And look at how low that money is. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. That's really, really, really great. So let's go ahead and speed things up so that way we don't spend all our time on one replay. But again, I want the lesson for this specific game is for all of you to look right here. All of you to look right here. Right, look right there at that point in, on the screen. All right, cool. So there's that going down. See some Zerglings kind of moving in for the kill. Probes pulling back. Okay, cool. Running things around. Uh-oh. Well, he's still doing a pretty good job. But again, I'm looking right here. Look at the 4 being selected. Oh, all our warp gates being selected. 1-1 to move back. Let's see if we have any tapping. Yeah, we do. We're macroing. Awesome. Man, that money is so low for Taishu. That is just such a low money count. That is fantastic. Look at him using all those hotkeys. Oh, did you see that? He used 6 and 4 to check this. Still trying to do a little bit of splitting up with his army, but you know what it looks like. He's feeling a little awkward about that at this point in time. Suffering a little bit of heat. I think that's enough for this particular episode. Or, excuse me, this particular replay. I almost implied I was done with the daily. Goodness not, we've only been going for 28 minutes. So you saw in that game how there was a couple of bumps going on, and you know what? In this next game, let's take a look at our mechanics. Let's take a look at someone's mechanics doing kind of a static camera view. Let's do, look at this, trying to use Day 9 Daily number 252 and losing. Alright, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Let's speed things right on up from the start, because this is perhaps the easiest way to learn about your mechanics. Now, first of all, a good question is who's who in this game. The question is who's trying to use all the lessons from Day 9 Daily number 252, all about hotkeys and mechanics. I'm looking a lot down here to see who's using a lot of hotkeys. Looks like both of them are using a good amount of hotkeys. Cool. Let's see who ends up using more and focus on that player. Alright, cool. This is a very interesting hotkey setup from both players, actually. Except this one is not actually, well, getting a little bit behind on hotkey and everything. We see all of these unit-producing structures up at the high end. Let's check out what the other player's doing. Yeah, it looks like we're probably going to be doing this from the Terran Buddy point of view. Or at the very least, we can just watch it and find out who lost.
I am here.
And whoever ends up losing, we will focus on a lot. Looks like Sephiroth trying to warp in some units. At this point in the game, this is probably one of these classic-looking Terran 1 base versus Protoss, trying to be a little bit aggressive. Oh, Sephiroth doing some big ol' macro, going on. Last game, what did we talk about? All about tapping. All about where our eyes looking versus what is the screen doing. Here comes a big scary push coming up, and oh no, he ends up losing. Oh, what a tragedy. Oh, I'd probably say that the Protoss player is our little buddy in pain this game. Unless for some reason Terran ends up having some sort of miracle misfire. But yeah, alright, let's go ahead and rewatch that from the Protoss point of view. And here is something that is going to very much so highlight when issues happen. I'm going to even open a notepad document. Watch this, watch this. Yeah, alright, here's me, notepad. Alright, here we go. This is an extremely, extremely important thing I want you to do. This is something I actually want you to do in terms of writing stuff down for your own sake. Now, last game was all about tapping, where our eyes are looking, versus what our fingers are doing on the screen. This game, it's all going to be about, are we macroing consistently well? When do things go wrong? So, what a lot of people will do is they'll, try to keep track of when they forget to make probes. Like, you know what? Let's keep an eye on this nexus. Let's keep an eye on this nexus. Whoops! Oops, we're not building probes. We're not building probes. Oh no. Oh no. Why are no probes being built? Okay, good. Now we're building probes again. We kind of have the idea in StarCraft 2 that we want to be constantly building probes. There's some more probes going on. And people will do this. And let's say you're Sephiroth, right? Let's say you're Sephiroth, and you're rewatching one of your games, and what do you say? You say, oh, you know what? I need to remember to build probes. I need to remember to build probes. I need to remember to build probes more. Alright, cool. That's what I'll do next game. Don't do that. Don't think that way. That's actually bad. You want to find out precisely when you end up forgetting those probes. And why. For instance, I get pylon blocks sometimes. What's the lesson that I learned? I guess I better not build pylons. I realized that I almost always forget the pylon that is at 60 food. Almost always the pylon's that's at 60 food. The 52 food pylon I miss sometimes, but it's generally the 60 food one that I always forget. Wow, why is that the case? And I figured out the reason is because I just kind of get the framework that I want going up, and that's where a lot of times the big decision for how I'm going to transition, will I go Colossus, will I go Templar, something like that, that big decision happens between 50 and 60 food. So now every time I say, hey, I've made a big decision in gameplay, oh yeah, that's right, that means I need to build a pylon. Hey, cool, I've created an established trigger for when I need to fix this. So let's go ahead and start writing some times down. Alright, so we have some probes coming up. You know what, since the probe production is kind of glitching out here and there, let's do this for our gateway production, for our warp gates. Let's go ahead and do that for the warp gate so that way we're not bouncing back to this probe area all game long and try to find out when sorts of bumps happen. So there was one where that sentry didn't get built. There's no real reason for me to have the overlay here since we already know the outcome. Let's back up. Alright, cool. So we're seeing, alright, our dude being built, and at 5 minutes and 41 seconds. I forgot a gateway unit. Okay, cool. And there it's building again. Alright, cool. I'm going to select all these gateways. There again at 6:56, there's nothing building, but you know what? Warp gate's about to finish, so I don't care. Alright, good. I'm only staring at the warp gates pretty much now. Alright, cool. I actually want to go to Sephiroth's first-person perspective and see. Wow, if we actually back up a bit, we're going to start seeing some times. Okay, here. Let's slow it down to ×2. Well, it looks like at around... Yeah, I'm actually going to mark it as 7:47. 7:47, we ended up forgetting another one. 7:47. So, it looks like kind of a long gap. 7:47. We're actually going to wait to see. Okay, and he built at 8:05. 8:05. All right, we're doing some research. We're starting to actually get down to the bottom of things. And then here comes the next set of gateway units. How soon does he build? Okay, it's 8:36. 8:36 is the time I want to remember. Let's see how long it takes to rebuild stuff. Ooh, there was a 10-second gap in there. Yeah, so actually, I'm going to write down 8:36. The reason why I waited to write down 8:36 is, let's say, at 8:36, all his gateways were ready. And then at 8:40, he ended up throwing them down. 4 seconds of time, I'm not going to worry that much. But I am going to worry about 15 seconds of time. 15 seconds of time feels huge. That's like half the time it takes to make a zealot. So let's see here. The gateways just finished. Uh-oh, and... wow, 9:12. Ooh, wow, almost a full minute of not 9:12 to 10 minutes. Now, I could go through this exercise the entire time. I could go through this exercise almost for the rest of the game. But you know what? Let's do research of what the hell happened at 5 minutes and 41 seconds. And here's where Blizzard's lovely first-person replay comes in handy. Let's go to our first-person perspective and pretend we're Sephiroth. Alright. So he's building some stuff. Good. We're trying to get to 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Trying to get to 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Okay, there's the warp gate going down. There's the second stalker. And now, alright, and there's the selection of the gateway. What I'm going to be looking for in the next 20 seconds, I'm going to be looking for how often Sephiroth clicks 5 and looks at this gateway production. I'm also going to look for this at this main screen to see if there's anything distracting going on. Anything distracting going on. So let's go back to Sephiroth's perspective. There's the Nexus selected. Now let's start looking really carefully. Good! He selects 5. He's looking at it. Good! He's selecting 5. Alright, and he's coming back. And it looks like he's selected a probe. Oh, he's going to go build gateways. So it looks like he builds the gateways. He sends the probe back. Oh, he's actually going to build a little bit more. Okay, cool. Oh, and then he selects the gateway. Did you see what happened there? He selected all those, he was building all those structures, and now, only after he was building the structures, did he actually go back to check that. So there's something really, really, really common. Anytime I build structures, I probably need to remind myself to make sure I'm not forgetting the units. You'll notice that up until that point in time, Sephiroth was selecting the gateway, he was selecting his Nexus, and then selecting the gateway, and then selecting the Nexus, making sure the probes, and the warp gate, and the stalkers, they were all coming out. But when all of a sudden, and I'm actually going to use my mouse pointer, all of a sudden, now follow with my mouse pointer, you know, his eyes were down here, where my mouse pointer was. Okay, he's selecting this one, and he's looking here, and then he's selecting this one, okay. And then follow my mouse cursor, his eyes went up here, and then his eyes stayed along this probe, and he said, okay, let's go and let's build this here, okay, that's good. Let's go over here and build that there, okay, that's good. And let's have my little probe build this thing up here, okay, that's good. Okay, now, going back down to here. And it's a very, very, very deceiving moment because it feels like you're doing everything on time. But we did the smart thing, and after the replay, we just stared at these warp gates. We just stared at only the warp gates. There was a battle going on here. There was all sorts of goodness going on. But all we did was look at the warp gates. If you're Terran, click on your barracks or click on your factory and watch the whole game. And see how often you end up messing up. Zerg, watch your main hatch, where your queens are. Watch it the whole game. See how often you forget the larva infuse. Watch how many times you end up forgetting that. And you'll start to see patterns. So here we've seen one pattern. Oh, I guess he was building something. Let's see if we can get anything else. Or some other times we wrote down 741 to 805. Good. Let's go ahead and go into that. 741. So let's go ahead and get our first person perspective. Good. This is where our first warp gate comes out. Yeah! Alright, so he selects all of them and starts warping in units. Good. If we go to the APM, we see that Sephiroth actually has relatively low hand speed. That's fine. That's fine. I do not want you to obsess about what your APM should be. You should be obsessing about what's going on in your own brain. Because if you can do a good job of knowing what's going on in your own head, then you will end up having a lot easier of a time. So let's actually go. We're looking at 741. 741. Going to hit that. Going to deselect. Good. So let's see what happens. Okay, so he's going to expand, and we see an attack going on at the same time. Hey, 741. It looks like he's building things. Remember last time, you know, at the 6-minute mark, 6:36, where we saw that building all those extra gateways? Or what time was it, 5:41? Yeah, it was 5:41. At 5:41, he was building a whole bunch of things, and there he's building things. He's sending it back with the F keys. All right, cool. So whenever Sephiroth is building things, he has a tendency to forget to macro. And there, notice he built he built from the bottom hotkey section. Again, we're going to rewind to see that. The screen was over here by the probe. We're going to see the pylon get built. We're going to see 4 get selected. We're going to see 4E. This is great. Watch this. 4, okay, hit it. 4E. All right, see that? 4E go down. And then we return to the front of our base. Okay, and we're going to macro. But recall that for about 15 seconds, nothing was building. For about 15 seconds. And that's because Sephiroth was distracted by this and was distracted by this. Cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's go back to his first-person perspective, because I think we have another one coming up. Yeah, it looks like at 8:36. At 8:36. All right, cool. Oh, did a good job watching the minimap, trying to pick off that SCV. Okay, he's going to begin working his way up. We're looking for what happens at 8:36. Here comes the attack. Here comes the attack. Look at the bottom. Look at the bottom. Is he selecting anything? What is the screen doing? Looks like he's trying to poke his way up, trying to do a little bit of damage. And here is, I think, one of the easiest mistakes to remedy, and one of the most common mistakes. In the midst of a battle, it's very easy to kind of forget to macro. In the midst of a battle, you almost always want to be thinking to yourself, oh my god, how do I maximize the use of this battle? It's really important that you be tapping that 4 and 5. What was the other time we had written down? Let's find that out. 9:12. 9:12. Oh, I don't want to see me right now. That is not what he was looking at. This is not the first-person perspective you want. All right. Let's go back. Let's see what was going on at 9:12. At 9:12, all right, we're going to get our first-person camera. Good. All right, 9:12's coming up rapidly. 9:12. What's going on at 9:12? Let's find out. Let's get to the bottom of these. Let's get to the bottom of these. Speeding things right along. Speeding things right along. Okay, cool. There is... Uh-oh. Trying to move up. Oh, there's an attack going on, as usual. Anytime there is an attack happening, it looks like our little buddy, our good friend Sephiroth, is neglecting to build things. Look at how, like, 100% of the time, the focus was on these stalkers. And even now, notice again, Sephiroth is building things, and while building things, he is simply not macroing. Yep. After he did the battle, and after he built the robo, and then came back to look here, that's when he began to macro. And this is an unconscious prioritization that happens, where, here's perhaps the greatest example of all time. You've just gotten out of the shower. It's time to put on your clothes and start the day. Do you put on your boxers first or your socks first? You put on your boxers first. I know there's a couple of you out there who are like, yeah, I put on my socks and then my shoes and then my boxers, right? Like, no, you put on your boxers first and then you put on your socks, and it's almost so automatic that you don't even think about it. I mean, actually, for me, I put on my boxers and then I put on my pants and then I put on a shirt. Always, actually. I'm trying to think if there's any time in which I've just like, have any of you just like put on a shirt without it putting anything on your legs? Like, literally, you're a naked person with a shirt on. Do any of you do that? None of you do that, right? None of you do that. Does anyone do that? Let's actually poll the chat. That's actually a great comparison. Yeah, all right, some people, yeah, I do pants last. But yeah, no one's like, yeah, I put on my shirt, and then I put on my boxers, and then my socks, and then my shoes, and then my pants. At the end of the day, it kind of feels like you have your sort of usual outfit, but notice that a lot of you probably were not aware of the fact that you never put a shirt on and wander around as a person who's naked with just a shirt on. That unconscious prioritization happens in Starcraft, where your brain almost always says, oh my gosh, I really need to be looking at the army. That is the most important thing on that screen, the army. That is the big thing to watch. Why? Because every other game trains you to look at the frickin' army. Like Final Fantasy Tactics, Shining Force 3, yeah, you look at the army. A fighting game, like, it seems counterintuitive for someone to be like, alright, in Street Fighter 4, you almost never look at your character or his character. You actually look at your opponent on the other side of the arcade, right? Like, if someone told you that, it would feel wrong, right? Or, building things, making all the fancy tech structures. Why is this an unconscious thing? Because if you play SimCity at all, or The Sims, building stuff is the activity that you do. However, if you want to be a competitor, and if you want to win a lot of games more easily, like it's a really easy thing to fix, you just make sure that all the structures that can produce stuff are always producing stuff. That's actually your most important goal. That is your number one most important aspect of macro. The number one most important aspect of macro. And what we're seeing in this game is that this is a clear example of that misprioritization, of your brain unconsciously saying, oh, the battle, look at the battle, because that's the important thing, look at the battle. Okay, is it okay to take a break from the battle now? Yes? Good, I'm going to come over here. All right, macro, it's okay. Oh, now back to the battle, screw you, macro, you don't care. And now let's go back to doing it. But what I want you to do is I want you to actually live over here. I want you to live at the far left corner. It's kind of lonely over here, where all these people just macro. It's rough. But you know what? I win a lot more on the left side. It's good to be on the left, I will admit. And that's what you want to be doing. You want to be going macro. Oh my gosh, can I take a break from macro to handle this battle? Yes. Oh! And then you click some stuff around, micro back. All right, swing back around here. All right, 4E, making probes. 4C, chrono boosting things. Building stuff out of my warp gate. Whoa, coming back here to the battle. And what you'll notice, this is the thing that'll happen. You'll come back to the battle and you'll go, ugh. If I had microed, I could have killed one extra tank. Ugh. But I have an army that's just as big as the one that just died. If you focus too much on micro, you'll go, yeah, I killed that one extra tank. Yeah. And then you'll have no units and immediately fucking die. And then I don't want that for you. I don't want that for you at all. So, I want you to watch the times when you end up forgetting to macro, just like we did for Sephiroth. I want you to write down the times of when things slip up, and then go back and re-examine and figure out what on earth is getting in the way of my macro. Oh, I'm focusing on blank. Now, here's something really weird. I used to have the problem where I was amazing at whenever I got into a battle at macroing. I was amazing at that. I was so good at that in Brood War. That is actually perhaps my strongest aspect of Starcraft, is that I am very good at macroing in a battle and having a huge army and still controlling my army pretty darn reasonably well. But I noticed problems came when I started to do those series of management decisions. That's when my macro would slip. I would go, oh, okay, it's going Mutalisks. I guess I need to cancel my Colossus plan. I need to get some Blink Stalkers. How's that going to delay my expansion? Ooh, I guess I should be getting a Forge and upgrades for that. Definitely don't want to be forgetting that hallucination, because you need to poke it in with some Phoenixes. And while I was doing that, I'd forget to macro. Right? That's... it's actually in StarCraft 1 I used to forget to do that, but I'm going to use that as though it were StarCraft 2. That's the sort of thing that I would have a problem with. And it was kind of that moment where I was like, whoa. Okay, now I see. So make sure you find out what your little, issue is, and just create a trigger for yourself. Anytime I get close to 60 food, now as Protoss, I say, oops, got to be building a pylon. Anytime I start to make decisions, or I get in a battle, I say, oops, better make sure I'm macroing. And the rest of the time, I'm like, let's make sure I'm macroing. So I want to go into one last game that's going to be more about economy management. Let's look at this game. Oh, Blue Waffle. Blue Waffle actually submitted another game. He's actually been on the Day 9 Daily before. But again, it looks like he's getting super lucky to be selected twice. Let's actually not remove this overlay. Let's leave that up, and let's just look at some early game economy managing. The idea of things getting a little too far or a little too ahead. Looks like Mad G Funny Just checking at the APM. Yeah, you know what it looks like? Blue Waffle, I think, is a higher level player. In general, you don't get a lot of people who are, you know, 10 league players playing with that level of APM. So we, again, could do this macro analysis. We absolutely could. We watch this queen. Whoops, skipping it a little bit. Let's see how often he's remembering it. Cool, we can do all those sorts of good things. But what I really want to focus on in this particular run-through is I want to focus on these numbers up here. These numbers up here and how they relate to everything that's going on around here. And in particular, how responses are happening based upon what we're seeing on the mini-map. Okay, look, we have a hatchery coming down, good, all this sort of stuff. And, you know, I'm going to actually back up to around this 4-minute mark where things start to become mildly complicated. Let's go to the Blue Waffle cam and see what's going on. So, we see some Zerglings now poking their way up to the top. Alright, good. Trying to do a little scouting around. Looks like he is doing the tapping. Looks like, yeah, notice, oops. Notice that I could not tell if he was doing the tapping because I had not hit escape. Alright, perfect. Alright, there's some Mariners poking out to do a little damage. Should be hitting the 3 button to check up on our hatchery. Let's see if he hits that 3 button. Let's see if he hits that 3 button. Alright, doing a pretty good job. Doing a pretty good job. Alright, good. So I want to come back here to this production tab so we can get a good sense of what's going on. So we see some more Zerglings being made based upon this little threat. Now, based on the fact that he's seen that, it looks like the entire set of units, yes, doing a good job there, coming back, doing a little larva vomitage. Now, I want to look really carefully at this money now. I'm going to look really carefully at this money now. So to recap, the first game that we looked at today was all about tapping. That was the big thing that we ended up focusing on. Tapping 456, 456 for our Protoss player Taishu. In the second game, it was all about when did macro end up failing? Let's identify the patterns. We started to identify some. In this game, I want it to be all about what that number of money says in the corner, because that's a very important piece of information, and how we're going to respond to it. Because you know what? Way too often, people will find a build order. You know, it'll be like 9 pylon, 13 gate, 15 gas, 16 pylon, 18 gate or 18 cybernetics core. And then it keeps getting more and more complicated. 22 this, 25 this, 40 take an expansion, 52 don't forget your pylon, and it just. And so people just kind of wait around for the number to appear. Am I at 52 food yet? No. Well, then I'm not building a pylon. I refuse. Because it's not what I do. I want it to be more of an active thing, because this is a strategy game, not a, you know, sort of rote memorization game. I want us to think about things that we're seeing based upon this money. Now, generally the number that makes me freak out is 500 minerals. If I ever have 500 minerals, I freak out. So we're at 300 minerals. Let's see what's going on. Good, we just had our larva vomit, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is about 250 minerals worth of stuff. I'm not so concerned. I'm not so concerned. I'm still going to be watching through my replays, thinking about this sort of thing. Whoa, we almost hit 500. We almost hit 500. Blue Waffle doing a good job. Now, keep glancing down here. I want you to keep glancing here, and then glancing back up here. I want you to simultaneously be looking at the bottom and looking at the money. So we're seeing the Zerglings move up. We'll look at the money. His money's getting a little high. Ooh, 300's getting close to 500. I'm worried for you, Blue Waffle. I'm really worried for you. Okay, now he's vomiting a little bit. Okay, 1-1 coming back. Oh my god, he's at 400. Oh, Blue Waffle. Blue Waffle. Don't do it. Don't do it, Blue Waffle. 3. No. Okay, that's the worst thing in the entire universe. That is the worst thing. In the universe. In the universe. In the universe. If all your best friends decided to go swimming in gasoline while smoking, that would be better than having your minerals over 500. Are you starting to see why I have good macro now? Because that's what I do anytime I see my minerals at 500, right? I seriously, that is a very high number. And anytime it's high, I want you to consider some of the following things, right? We have not moved the screen yet. We're still in the blue waffle cam. We're still in the blue waffle cam. We're still in the blue waffle cam. Why is that money high? A, he stopped macroing. B, he's macroing really hard but is not collecting enough gas. Or C, there's no way for him to spend this money in a good way. All of those are unfortunate. If we come back here, we note, are there any larvae hanging around here? It doesn't actually appear to be the case. It looks like we have one larva there. Are there any others? No. Are there any others? No. Okay, so it looks like he's macroing about as well as he can. Oh no, there's one guy in the harvester. There we go. That feels kind of like a problem to me. We should also probably strongly consider a text structure here. A text structure here. A text structure here. So what does this mean? If I'm Blue Waffle and I'm looking at this replay, I'm going to say something like, hey, around 30 food, I was getting 500 minerals. So I guess around 28 food, I need to think of how to spend my money with this build. What a treat. How amazing. That's like doing your budget for food for the month and going, I have $100 left over. What do I do? In my case, I would buy volumes 16 through 22 of Ultimate Spider-Man because I don't have those yet. So anytime the alarm bells go off because our money's a little too high, we have the delightful treat of discovering new aspects that we want to incorporate into our build. Now, I would like to point out right now, Blue Waffle's money has not actually dropped below 300 in quite some time. It has not actually dropped below 300 quite some time. It's been bouncing between 300 and 500. And there's a queen coming out right now. This queen, see this guy? There's the queen coming out. Finally, our minerals are below 300. Notice how everything I'm saying right now and everything I'm about to say revolves around this money number up here and the fact that it's not 0. I can definitively say that this queen could have been started way earlier. This queen could have been started way earlier. Way earlier. Blue Waffle's doing a good job of trying to macro while looking here. We'll see regularly the 3 button get tapped down here as he's doing some harassment. This is good micro. This is good stuff. This is good micro. But, uh-oh, how's our money doing? We gotta be careful. Oh no, is our queen extending doing stuff? Okay. Again, our money, now you heard me say 500 was the number that makes me absolutely just want to walk off a building. However, notice that our money, look at the money in the top right. I haven't even looked here in a while. Look at this money. Look at this number up here. This number has not dropped below 200 in quite some time. Let's actually, hell, you know what? I'm actually going to rewind to the 4-minute mark. Let's go from the 4-minute to the 7-minute. Or I guess whatever the replay wants me to be. All right, 4-minute to the 7-minute. All right, and here let's see when we first actually peter above 200. And now I'm gonna declare now at the 5-minute mark. Well, it looks like no, we dropped below it. Okay, now what about at the 5-minute and 15-second mark? Yep, that seems to be the trigger. Not below 200, not below 200, not below 200, a little below 200, not below 200, not below 200, not below 200, not below 200, still not below 200, still not below 200, still not below 200. We're not below 200 at this point. Oh, it dipped a little bit below 200. We're still back above 200. We're back above 200. We're back above 200. Oop, a little bit above 200, back above 200, back above 200. Hell, I think with exactly what Blue Waffle's done, that he's going to have a spare 200 that he could have done stuff with long ago. We can do the same sort of analysis for gas. Uh-oh, our gas is high. Our gas is kind of high. Our gas is high. Our gas is high. Anytime our money's high, we should say, could I spend this money now? Or should I just be getting gas earlier? Should I be getting gas earlier? Man, look at that money from Blue Waffle. It's above 500. Oh my gosh. I would rather hug a bleeding calf and then go swimming in shark-infested waters than let my money get above 500. Consistently, oh yeah, you know what? Here's something interesting. Here's something I'm going to note. So here is the relationship between a build order and this money. Here's something that happens to a lot of people. Someone will be in Blue Waffle's position, do Blue Waffle's opening, and say something like, in my build order, I like to get my Spire and my 3rd hatch at the same time. They'll create that relationship in their minds. They'll create that little relationship. But you know what? We've identified that you have pretty much over 200 all the time doing this build. Maybe I could just get my 3rd hatch a lot earlier. Huh. So in a sense, I I'm suddenly, and this is actually almost universally the correct way to think, instead of saying, hey, I have over 200 minerals all the time, maybe I can throw something else in there. You want to be saying, hey, I have an extra 200 minerals for like 5 minutes. Can I do my build faster? Or do my build better? If you're doing a Mutalisk-focused build and you have that extra money, oh man, I should be getting gas earlier because I don't need that extra 200 minerals, so those drones mining minerals could have been devoted to mining gas earlier on. Or, I really love a 3-hatch opening. As Zerg, I better get my 3rd hatch earlier because I can see from this money number that I can accelerate it. That's economy management. I haven't even judged your strategy. I haven't said, should Blue Waffle be getting the Spire? Should he be getting 3rd hatch? Should he not be getting 3rd hatch? Is he scouting the front? Zero strategy at all. None. Zero. Just going, what's that number? How do we improve whatever the hell I want to do based on that number? If you have decided to yourself that you want to go mass SCVs, let's say that's your build order. We can always look at that number, and if we say something like, gee, you have a spare 400 around all the time, then you can accelerate your mass SCV build by throwing down another command center. Right? Doing all that sort of goody-goodness. Doing all that sort of goody-goodness. All that sort of goody-goodness. Okay, cool. So we're going to speed things up a little bit. Speeding things up a little bit. Let's go back to the first-person camera. Let's continue to look at these numbers. Okay. Our money's starting to get a little bit lower. There it finally dips down. Now, what happens to the biggest tragedy is, I would say, what happens at the 8-minute and 10-second mark. Let's get to that 8-minute and 10-second mark, and let's hold one another and weep like bitter lovers at the end of a Shakespearean play. Right here. Okay. Bam. Right there. 8-minute and 14 seconds. Look at the money. Look at that money. Look at it. 90 minerals. Low. Right? 90 minerals. A low amount of money. A low amount of money. Okay? You'll get to a point where you will say to yourself, I macro well. My money's at 90. It's at 90. My build's good. I'm macroing well. I was aggressive against it. I was macroing perfectly fine. You see my queens, they don't have much energy, you know, like this queen, she has 42, but she's about to vomit. This queen has 8, just vomited. I don't have a lot of energy, just back off, you know. However, we know from earlier times, this hatch could have been started almost 3 minutes earlier. Almost 3 minutes earlier, that hatch could have been started. Or almost 3 minutes earlier, we could have added on a bunch of geysers and begun mining gas to make our Mutalisks even better. The fact that your money gets low at one point will deceive you into thinking that you are playing very, very well economically. But you have to stare at that number and see as it's getting high how you're spending it. And you'll find long bands of time where your money is hovering between 200 and 400. And then it trickles back down. But you know what? You can force it to just stay between 0 and 150 by just accelerating your build. By accelerating your build. Alright, good, great. Let's go ahead and look just for a few more seconds thinking about this little money situation that we have. Again, it might feel like we're macroing so well because look at how low our money is. Almost hasn't gotten above 200 in quite some time. Now it's starting to drift above a little bit, but that's fine. It drops right back down. Overlords are even coming out. He's doing a good job checking the mini-map. But we know we could have had this extra hatchery up quite a bit sooner. Here come our Mutalisks. Theoretically, here come our Mutalisks. In the production, it looks like no, just Zerglings coming out, and that's fine. That's a fine response. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And again, we're starting to see something interesting happen. Let's actually back up just a pinch, just a touch, just a noodle. Right around here, we're actually, if you look at the money, our gas is what ends up looking high. Look at our gas. Gas is a less concerning resource to be high. It's a less concerning resource because it's the easiest resource to just drain really quickly, as we're going to see. Like, for instance, right here, I want you to just note that gas is high. I just want you to note that gas is high. And then what's going to happen is we're going to be making a lot of Zerglings, and our minerals slowly going to catch up. Again, I'm just looking here, and occasionally glancing over here, just looking here. Our minerals are starting to catch back up. Oh, we're making some Banelings. There's the Mutalisk upgrade. Wow, that gas looks mighty high. But then all of a sudden, bam! Look at all that money go down in unison because we're making nothing but Mutas. We got supply blocked. But again, you can see that since these are even, we can just churn out 3 more Mutalisks. Gas is also a deceiving resource, but slightly more so in the reverse direction. For instance, I think a lot of Terran players will know this. If you've never tried this, go try it out. I want you to do an opening that is Blue Flame Hellions with a medevac really fast. You have to get 2 geysers up kinda really early on. So you can have the gas to get the factory, the add-on, the pre-igniter, and then the starport, and then the medevac. That's kind of a lot of gas, so you need 2 geysers almost uncomfortably early. If you try to just get like a geyser and then a factory, and then you get your second geyser kind of as you have money, you'll find out you don't quite have enough gas to do it. So in a sense, you get this deceptive buildup of gas that suddenly just goes like upgrade, factory, starport, medevac. It just goes bum, 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 and drops in sort of unison. So that's a kind of idea you want to have in your mind of specific points in time when you want your gas to sort of... In general, keep your gas low, damn it. Keep your freaking gas low. There are times, though, your gas elapses, such as warp gate openings for Protoss when they go Zealot and like 6 sentries expand. You have a huge gas buildup. Sentry. You know, you're just blasting right through that really, really, really quickly. And that's great. That's absolutely fine. However, I still want you to have the following idea as well. There are times where it's appropriate to pull guys back out of gas, such as a Blue Flame Hellion drop. If you are focusing on like Blue Flame Hellions, after you get them up, it's kind of actually tough to spend your gas on things. A lot of people continue to go Blue Flame Hellions, perhaps even, while the factory and the starport are all going medevacs and Hellions, the barracks can build a reactor. And then when you're done with your drop, you just switch the factory and the reactor. And then you can begin making Hellions 2 at a time. Huge mineral drain, no gas drain. And a lot of players will incorrectly stockpile like 1100 gas and then never get below 500 for the rest of the game. Because they just have way too much gas. Or they'll have like 1100 gas, and when they go take their expansion, they'll get 2 gas geysers, instead of maybe even considering just getting 1 gas geyser and sticking on 3 gas geysers for a really long time. I just want you to think a little bit about that. In general, if your money's too high, your minerals are too high, either get gas earlier, accelerate your build, or improve your macro. Accelerating the build is the big one I want to emphasize, though. If your gas is getting too high, mine gas, or start mining gas later, take fewer geysers, or even take guys off gas. Yeah, go back to mining minerals. So, we're actually going to take, like, 1 question, because this has been going very long. It's been an hour and 7 minutes. So, let's go ahead and do this stuff. And also, I'm going to be on the state of the game real soon here. I bet JP's messaging me. So, definitely tune into the state of the game. Okay, I'll take actually a few. Kappa says day 9 as Zerg. I always have my queens and hatches hotkeyed. Do you recommend watching the energy levels on the queens to know when to inject larvae? Or should you just be looking at the meter on the hatcheries instead? In other words, I use my hatches as 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that's how I check. Idra uses his queens as 5, 6, 7, and 8 and looks at the energy. Personal preference. The important thing is that you know what works best for you and that you have an efficient method to do the tap. An efficient method. Let's hopefully take one more. Let's hopefully do one more. Custom Call also says, Dear Day 9, you said you didn't know about a lot of shortcuts that you periodically find out about. Do you know about injecting larvae through the minimap, and should this be something players should consider, or is it better to glance at their hatcheries? I don't know. I haven't actually experimented around a lot with that, but yes, you can inject larvae from the minimap, where you just have all your queen select and just kind of go V, click, 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 and kind of look at the minimap. Again, speed is the important one, and just not missing a beat in macro. if your hands are very comfortable with it, and it is actually comfortable, like for instance, if you had your army hotkeyed as 0, 5, and 1, it would be awkward to be like 0A, 5A, 1A. I mean, don't go overboard with it, but the important thing is that you're keeping your money low, that you're not missing opportunities for macro, that you're doing the tap, and that your eyes are looking at all the important things. So I guess I will take one final question and wrap this bad boy up. Sweet Lemonade says, isn't it a little harder with Zerg to worry about the keeping your money low, considering you're limited by the amount of larvae available to you? Which is true. You'll hit periods where you have like 0 money, build money, build money, build money, build money. Hey, 8 larvae just popped off my 2 hatches. 0 money, build, like that sort of process. But again, use the same logic. Use the same logic where you're looking kind of at what your money does right when you end up spending all that larva. Because a lot of times people let it build up to 600, 700 and then spend it, and then they have 200 left. Maybe I could get an evolution chamber in here. I mean, we saw Blue Waffle in that last game have pretty good macro, pretty good control, but just had some money left over. We could use some good things with that. So for next week's Newbie Tuesday, I would love it if we did the same topic again. However, I will include the following. I would strongly prefer you to actually send a video of you playing in first person. A video file of you playing in first person so that we can actually get a sense of where your mouse cursor is and see it in an even more explicit fashion. That would be amazing. To submit a video. You can still submit replays. I'm going to skew a little more towards the video. Please submit them in ideally in something close to 1280 by 720, so that way it'll actually fill up. I mean, I don't want whoops, wrong overlay. I would prefer not to have a video that's like this size, so I'd be like, hey guys, look at what's happening over here. Isn't this a fascinating, interesting little story? Isn't this thing? I kind of want something that actually full screens properly. So again, 1280 by 720 would be great. Send those to Tuesday at day9.tv because mechanics don't get talked about enough, and they are one of the fundamental components to not only winning, but also really getting to touch on all the fun strategy stuffs. For next week's Fun Day Monday, it is the Mass Contaminate Fun Day Monday. You must have 3 contaminates going on at the same time at 3 different points in the game. Or you must be continuously contaminating one structure for at least 3 times in a row. In other words, use a lot of damn contaminate. Yeah. And also, tomorrow, tune into Friend Day Wednesday. We have Echoic coming on to discuss his TVT strategy that's all about Hellions and Air. Ooh, I'm very excited. For now, I'm going to bounce because I have to do State of the Game. Peace, peace, peace.